Class, this is your instructor, Oscar Crawford, providing you a bit of detail on the Module 6 role model review. To many of you, and even to me at times, this has been a very confusing assignment by the way it opens up, but I'm going to make it crystal clear for what the reality of it is. All right, I'm going to speak to it item by item. And number one, it says using the life domains explored in your worldview table. See modules 1 through 6 to complete the following assignment. All right, so you're really going to be taking a look at the worldview tables that you've completed thus far. You really didn't do one for Module 1. You wrote a thesis template for it, but for the rest of the time you've been doing a worldview table on each of the worldviews we've been considering. So there's information in the life domains that you may refer to. You really don't need to for the context of this assignment. You don't need to. If it's convenient for you to, that's fine too. All right, here we go. The number 2 point is the one that is the most confusing. It says identify at least 3 scholarly sources. In parentheses, use the GCU library so all sources are accessible by all GCU students. Parentheses closed, that provide information related to the worldview. Please hear that very clearly. Related to the worldview of an individual considered by modern society to be a role model. Identify the worldview of the individual you've selected. So here are the rules that I expect as you deliver this assignment. Number 1, when you pick a role model, you cannot pick your aunt or your uncle or somebody in your neighborhood unless they're really high profile. We're looking for a high profile personality here, someone who's a professional athlete, politician, actor or actress, activist, any person who is high profile. High profile, not somebody in your neighborhood unless they really meet the high profile nature of the assignment, and somebody most of us would readily recognize their name and their contribution. Now, pay attention to that provide information related to the worldview. After you pick a living role model that I've indicated to you as high profile, you want to identify what their worldview is, because your scholarly sources are not on the individual but their worldview. So there is a tutorial at the GCU library specific to this assignment. There is a tutorial in the GCU library specific to this assignment. Now, it may even refer you to some dead heroes. I tell you, do not choose those for this assignment. That is not acceptable for me. You must choose a living, high-profile personality, and once you've done that, then choose what you believe their worldview is based on your observation of them. And then when you go to the library to get your sources, your scholarly sources, you are to get your scholarly sources on the worldview. So, for instance, if you were to say that the worldview of the individual is Christian, then you're going to go and pull out 3 scholarly sources that talk about what it means or what it is to be Christian. Those things are indicative of that particular worldview. Your information must be about the worldview and not the individual. All right, now let's go on to point number 3. The A section under point number 3 says, on what is your observation based? All right, so after you've chosen this role model and you've decided what their worldview is, now you must qualify it in your paper what you've observed about that individual that leads you to the conclusion of their worldview. Here's a hint. If you've already gone and gotten your scholarly sources on the worldview, it would be convenient for the sake of your work that what you've observed in the individual matches up to the scholarly sources that you found on information related to that worldview. If that worldview, those worldview sources, and the person you have chosen, you've observed their behaviors in sync with that, then you can say those kinds of things. If you need further clarification on that, please don't hesitate to call me. I might be able to be a bit more specific for you there. And you know, my number is always 602-639-6690. 602-639-6690. All right, the B section. Compare and contrast the values and action demonstrated by the role model with your own worldview and experience. So if you've chosen worldviews that are the same, that should be relatively easy. If you're both Christian, you can identify those things that you have in common, and even if there are things a bit different, you can identify that too. If you've chosen somebody whose worldview is radically different from yours, that should be relatively easy as well to point out the comparison and contrast that establishes you as distinctly different from each other. All right, the C section. The C section. Is this an individual you would choose as a personal role model? If that person is someone you'd personally choose, you need to say that and qualify it with 2 or 3 things that substantiate that. You must do this. And your in all of your lead-ins from one transitional piece in the assignment to the other, use the language that's there. That'll indicate to me that you are where you are. As I provided to you in the Module 4 assignment, let's just give you some language to open this paper. The individual, considered by modern society to be a role model for the purpose of this role model review is, and then fill in that blank. Fill in the blank. My observations lead me to the conclusion that their worldview is, and fill in the blank. So you've got your opening thesis statement and introduction in those two sentences, and just do that. You don't need to impress me with a lot of filler language. That's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for you to establish very clearly who your role model is and what the worldview is. That's your opening. All right. In the section on what is your observations, basically use that language. My observations are based on the following things that I observe: 1, 2, and 3. And when you do your compare and contrast, number them: 1, 2, and 3. My compare and contrast of the values and actions demonstrated by the role model with my own experience lead me to these observations: 1, 2, and 3. And then whether or not you choose them as a personal role model, do exactly the same thing. Give them the 2 or 3 things that either support or don't support whether or not you choose the individual as your personal role model. All right. Point number 4. This is important. Never, never, never come in under the minimum word count. Never, never, never. That is not good. If you're going to go over, do not go over more than 10%. In this context, it would be 75 words. Do not exceed 75 words. I'm looking for you to be as close to the word count as possible, but if you must go over, do not go over more than 75 words, and I'm only counting the body of your written assignment, not the headline, not your sourcing, only the words. All right. You are to submit this assignment and to turn it in. And the other things that I want to recommend that you do, you should make sure that your presentation conforms to the GCU style guide. You should literally use the template, and you should always double space your assignments. Always, always double space your written assignments. Okay. In the event you have any questions, 602-639-6690. This was Oscar Crawford, your instructor. Wish you well on the assignment. If I can be of further assistance, you don't hesitate to be in touch with me. God bless.